Meryl, can you give the court an assured form of knowledge of how you left your residence, 474 Rexford Street, Rialto, California 92376, after you graduated high school in 1996? After I graduated high school in June of 1996, I had a birthday party in August, and most of my peers from high school attended this graduation birthday / party, and at that point, my father and mother were never really around. They were always at work, and I never saw my mother because she would go to work and come home really late and then leave early in the morning to go back to work. So I never really talked to her. I did talk to her for like permissions here and there, but that was the extent of contact. And at that point also I had privileges of a car, and so my independence became more and more prevalent. So approval was simply just a permission here, and then and that was the extent of contact with my mom. And I never talked to my dad because he was stationed at Travis Air Force Base in Sacramento, up north in California. So it was basically my grandmother always at home, and so I made arrangements, most of the arrangements, for this occasion of my graduation birthday / party, and it was invitation only. I had a card, an invitation card, and the only ones who could attend received this invitation card. And I had graduated with highest honors. I gave a commencement speech at Rialto High School in June of 1996. I was recognized as one of the top 4. So I was number 3 salutatorian, and I was at that point deciding whether or not to go to University of Notre Dame in Indiana. So traveling arrangements were already made for me to move to Indiana until I realized my parents didn't want to pursue that direction and wanted me to go to UC Riverside, California, since it was still home and at a commute more feasible for continued representation of being with my family and home. And at that decision, I found myself attending some meetings with the Carmelite sisters at another level, and I was no longer junior auxiliary, because junior auxiliary is more of a teenage program, and now I was being affiliated with the Carmelite sisters under a form of young adult. They had a handmaidens program for young women, to meet the standard of a Carmelite discernment program into the religious community. And it was no longer me as a JA, a junior auxiliary, but now as a young woman discerning and considering the life of a Carmelite sister under a form of handmaidens group. And I attended those meetings and talked to the vocation directress this time. Now I wasn't going to a form of junior auxiliary coordinator or retreat directress. I was now going to the Carmelites under a form of vocation directress. And this was Sister Marisa, OCD. And throughout the summer, this was what I was doing after I graduated high school. And the sisters were part of my life. It was something naturally for me to go to the retreat house and attend to the weekend retreats and now these meetings. And my independence was becoming more and more prevalent now that I've graduated high school, and application to the university and everything was coming to a point of decision. And my meetings with the Carmelite sisters led to requesting to enter their religious community and congregation. And so I was approved to enter candidacy and live in a house called Casa Maria to begin the stages of entrance into the religious congregation of the Carmelite Sisters of the Most Sacred Heart of Los Angeles. Now, you ask, what were the dynamics of the household? The same, except now I was more at a point of decision, of independence, while my two younger siblings were still under the guardianship of my father and mother and grandmother. Can you tell us what the dynamics were in how they offered their guardianship with your son, your other siblings? I found myself leaving the room when it came to both my parents coming in. Interaction was so difficult that I just left the room. I would leave because it was disturbing. I didn't really know how to respond to the behavior of my father's manner of speech and yelling and screaming, and my mother's manipulation of voice and apprehension of my independence. So it caused me to make decisions at this point away from them through a consistent rate of independence that had been developing throughout my concluding years in high school. And this was a manifestation of a readiness to leave. And this is how I left the home, was this decision to leave my parents' behavior. So with regards to my siblings, I don't know how they handled my parents' behavior. I'm sure they struggled a great deal on how to handle the manner of legal guardianship that Meryl and Viola Bravo and Alfredo Reyes Bravo presented and performed as legal guardians. I know that it was very difficult for me to maintain a relationship outside of my decision, and the relationship only maintained itself through a monthly visit with the Carmelite sisters, and that was very well structured, once a month for 1 hour on a Sunday. And it was like seeing them at Mass on Sunday and not knowing what they did after Mass and before Mass. Sister, can you share with us the resemblance between Cheryl and Laryl in the context of family visits? My family visits only with the Carmelite sisters during my religious formation between 1997 to 2003 was 1 hour a month on a Sunday, and the extent of the visit was the attendance of my mother and grandmother, Marilyn Viola Bravo and Natividad Baltazar Viola. These were the only two who attended these visits. With regards to my siblings, Cheryl Bravo and Laryl Bravo, They were never present at these visits except for a couple of visits. And those visits entailed a great deal of difficulty in communication and a form of understanding. Can you share with us exactly what you mean by a great deal of difficulty and understanding when these two siblings would come to visit? There was one visit where everyone else came to the visit. And then they were both still in high school, and she was upset. I didn't really know how to respond to her behavior. I was excited that all of them came this time. Usually it was my mom and grandma only. All of them meaning my dad, my mom, my grandma, Cheryl, and Meryl. So all 5 of them were present at this family visit. And Cheryl decided not to come out of the van. She just stayed in there. My other sister was just quiet the whole time. She didn't say anything. And it was, again, my mother badgering me in front of my dad. My mother didn't do that when my dad was there. But for some reason, when he's present, she starts badgering me. What do you mean by badgering? That visit, they noticed my hand had a form of scarring. I had excessive dryness on my hands, and there was this form of, it looked like there was a rash on it, and my mom was being really difficult about seeing that on my skin. And the badgering was that she was implying that the life of a Carmelite sister was too penitential and not good for my health. And my dad was basically saying that, are they taking care of you, basically, or they're not taking care of you? Are you happy here? Why is that on your hands? Things like that. And it wasn't a good visit. I wasn't happy with the context of their question and investigating presence at that visit. Meryl was quiet the whole time, and my grandmother was quiet. Every time my mom and dad are together, the extent of a conversation is never a conversation. It's more of a form of put down in a way. They put me down. I do recall that as a young person at home. Usually parents are very excited and happy that their child is being recognized for highest honors and a very good report card. And I didn't pick that up from my parents. My mother didn't recognize or acknowledge the good work I did in school. My grandmother did, however. She was very proud of me, but for some reason, when it came to my father and mother, it was not so well. It was very difficult for me to understand what was pleasing to her. Give us an example of your mother's behavior. Oh, she's so perfect! So perfect! That was the extent of my mother's behavior. That the work that I was presenting, she was seeing as something that was the manner of which she said it. It was like I was some perfectionist that did not recognize the gift of just simply doing my work well. And perhaps she saw it as something that I needed to be humbled about. And unfortunately, I just left. I did not know how to respond to that behavior.